Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at some incredibly fun battles in the Open Great League, featuring one of the best battlers in the entire world. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Boom20. Now, Boom has been rank 1 in the world before on the leaderboards. He competed in one Play Pokemon tournament, and he won it. So, he's definitely one of the best in the entire world at this game, and today he's running 3 Spice Picks and absolutely dunking on people running meta teams. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Picking up a great lead in the first match, Como versus Shadow Drapion. Opponent safe switches into Feraligatr, but this is not much of a better response. Feraligatr is going to get outpaced here, especially considering the one turn of desync due to the switch in. Then this is very uncomfortable for the Gator. We're going to see a no-shield by the Como, calling that it's just going to be the Hydro Cannon. In comes Berserker, and Berserker will look to commit a shield. He mentioned in the notes that if he had unlimited charge TMs, he would run Trailblaze on the Berserker instead of Iron Head, and he would probably run either Discharge or Zap Cannon instead of Flash Cannon, but quite literally had 0 charge TMs left trying to get these moves. Berserker is able to force the CMP tie, and that's exactly what he wanted. He just wanted to sacrifice the Berserker to set up a Magneton sweep. In comes the Magneton. Opponent is going to switch out. In the back, they have Azumarill, and Azumarill is now going to take massive neutral damage from the Magnet Bomb. Magnet Bomb is going to connect. Azumarill farming up close to a move, but not before Boom makes it to another Magnet Bomb. Magnet Bomb will connect. There's a switch to Como to force a simultaneous KO, and now with the residual energy left over on this Magneton, Magneton gets to the Magnet Bomb, KOs the Drapion, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, shooting Como into Diggersby. If you're going to see a ground type with this team, definitely happy to catch it on the lead. But for Como, things do get a little bit uncomfortable, as of course you want to take damage before you debuff your defense with a close combat. Scorching Sands is going to be no shield. Scorching Sands does not apply its 30% chance at a -1 attack debuff. Close combat is going to connect. Down goes Diggersby. Opponent trying to call the bait, and Boom's looking to pivot out into Berserker. In comes Berserker as Azumarill enters the field of play. Azumarill now going to be hit with a Trailblaze, so it looks like at some point he was actually able to TM over to Trailblaze. I may have these battles out of order. He mentioned in the notes that he did have Iron Head for quite a while and then was able to get Trailblaze at the end when he finally got another TM. But it looks like, at least for this battle, Berserker is back on the Trailblaze. This Trailblaze will actually KO the Azumarill if they let it through. Azumarill will commit the shield, and now I really like this call. Just let the Berserker go and trust in the Shadow Magneton. Shadow Magneton is insanely frail. In comes Corsola, and look at the Astonishes. These Astonishes absolutely melting the Magneton. Magnet Bomb is going to be no-shielded. That does so much damage. Magneton more than happy to accept the free Thundershock as they go for the Nightshade. One Thundershock and the Magnet Bomb. This should be pressuring the final shield away from the Corsola. Corsola will commit the final shield. In comes Como, able to make it to a Dragon Claw. This should be a range where Dragon Claw will KO the Corsola. Opponent can't make 2 moves on Azumarill. Their only hope is a farm down. Shadow Magneton is very frail, but it's bulky enough to tank the bubbles, getting that farm down and clutching a win against a top meta team. Moving to the next match, Como versus Guzzlord. There's basically only one Guzzlord team, and it's the It's Axon team that has Feraligatr and Clodsire in the back. The opponent can potentially go for a 1-shield farm down play here. Boom is going to actually deny the opponent's ability to make that play with a quick switch out into Berserker. Berserker can take any one move, and Crunch does so much damage. Opponent gets a defense drop. That's not going to affect the outcome of this game, because even with a debuff defense, the double resisted Poison Stings are doing absolutely nothing here. So Poison Sting after Poison Sting connects, Berserker completely unfazed as it's going to fire off back-to-back Iron Heads. Now this Clodsire now getting pretty low. Berserker just going to let itself get KO'd. Do you potentially attempt the world's most aggressive Thundershock farm down? No, he's going to send in the Como. Let it go, and now it's time. Now it's time for the aggressive Thundershock farm down with the Magneton, making the read that it's going to be the Axon team, and it is as Feraligatr appears in the back. This is where having Discharge would be very nice. Magnet Bomb no shielded by the opponent, and that forces Boom's hand. He is going to click the Magnet Bomb to trigger the CMP tie. The opponent lets that move go, but loses their banked Hydro Cannon in the process. Back in comes the Clodsire. Clodsire is going to grab away the first of those 2 shields from Magneton. The opponent only has resisted fast move pressure into this Pokemon. In comes the Guzzlord. Guzzlord immediately met with the Magnet Bomb, and it's just looking like the opponent cannot get enough fast move damage here. Their only play is to go for a Crunch and hope for a defense debuff, but even then I don't think it'll be enough. They go for the Crunch. They do get the defense debuff, but it's still not enough. The lightning fast energy generation of Magneton making the Magnet Bomb and securing a very clutch win. We see a very familiar name in the next match as Boom is battling against Koenig Lionheart, who is actually one of the play Pokemon casters for the European region. The Berserker save switch is going to lure out a Primeape. So far, all going according to plan. Trailblaze is going to be shielded, and we're going to see Primeape fire off the Rage Fist and look to go for a farm down. Rage Fist not going to do a ton of damage, but now you're going to have to deal with potentially boosted close combats or ice punches on Ko-Oh. Ko-Oh, with a difficult decision to make, commits the shield, and it is going to be the ice punch. Ko-Oh looking for a farm down, cannot get there. Primeape is able to make it to another move. That's going to be a boosted ice punch, and that's going to be a KO. In the back is Dunsparce. Dunsparce farming up a ton of energy. Oh my goodness. Boom's full sending it here. He's going for the Shadow Flash Cannon. It connects, but the Dunsparce lives on 1 HP. No, that is absolutely tragic, and that is going to cost Magneton its final shield. Back in comes the Pidgeot. Pidgeot did have 1 gust of residual energy before switching out. If they try and make the Brave Bird, they're getting outpaced. They're forced to go for the Aerial Ace or the Feather Dance here. It is going to be the Aerial Ace that will not KO. Shadow Magneton farming as much as it possibly can. Unfortunately, not going to make it to a Magnet Bomb versus the Primeape. Can you live the Karate Chop? No, and that game, after all that drama, is going to end in a simultaneous KO and a tie. Hopping into the next match, Como-O versus Dugong. This is not a great lead for the Como-O, so we are going to see a safe switch out into the Berserker. Berserker now back on Ironhead. This is a tough call to make. Will they go for this drill run? No, he calls the bait. Absolutely savage plays by Boom, and now the opponent is going to send in Superior. Superior normally cannot live back-to-back close combats, but due to the Icy Wind attack drop, this is actually survivable. So the opponent is able to hang on, and they're just going to look to farm up to the back-to-back Aerial Aces. Now, this Aerial Ace will do some pretty significant damage to the Como-O. So he's going to send in the Magneton, anticipating the blind Aerial Ace. This is double resisted damage. Shadow Magneton is so frail, but even Magneton can survive that very comfortably. In comes Malamar, and these Psywaves may be resisted, but they sure don't look it. The question is, can Magneton hang on despite all this fast move pressure to make it to 3 Magnet Bombs? It's going to be close. Firing off Magnet Bomb number 2. Malamar giving up the final shield, and Shadow Magneton makes it to a 3rd move. This Magnet Bomb, massive damage, taking them to 1 HP, and the switch to the Como-O. Como-O more than happy to shield, as it just wants to stay as healthy as possible to survive the Ice Shards and make it to a close combat. Shadow Magneton catching that blindly thrown Aerial Ace, and then making it to 3 Magnet Bombs versus that Malamar. Just a complete Malamar takeover in that endgame to secure the win. We move to the next game, Como-O versus Shadow Dragonite. This is a bit of a tricky matchup for sure, as both Pokemon are just getting absolutely torn to shreds. The opponent is going to fire off the last second Dragon Claw, and Boom's going to shield. He wants to save this energy. In comes Dugong. That's going to be a bit of a problem. We now see a pivot into the Berserker, and that's going to bait out a Diggersby, and this is going to be such a tough game to win, considering that Boom is down a shield. Nice overfarm there by the opponent. Boom is going to let this through. Diggersby goes for the Scorching Sands. That's a 1-hit KO. And this game almost feels impossible to win. Boom is going to bait with the Dragon Claw, able to put some pressure on the opponent. And now I think you just have to save the final shield for that Shadow Magneton. In comes the Magneton. Oh, the opponent blind switches out into the Dugong. He's going to call it. That's his only chance, is if they go for an Icy Wind, and they do. Wait, is this doable? Against all odds, this is debuffed, but it's a Flash Cannon from a Shadow Magneton Flash Cannon is going to pick up the KO. Back in comes Diggersby. These quick attacks adding up, building back up to the Flash Cannon. I think he's going to have to settle for the double Magnet Bomb and hope that it's going to be enough. And there's no way this game all comes down to this. Does this Magnet Bomb KO the Diggersby? It does not. Heartbreak as he loses the game by 1 HP on their Pokemon. Hopping into the next match, there's a great lead for Como-O and a low battery warning as well. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Feraligatr. This Shadow Feraligatr not even going to bluff an Ice Beam, just looking to land the Hydro Cannon, as even a Hydro Cannon will inflict some very serious damage. Dragon Claw by the Como-O is going to be shielded. Now we see the switch out to the Shadow Magneton, and look at these Shadow Claws. These are neutral Shadow Claws, and this poor Magneton is getting absolutely ripped to shreds. Magneton does get a farm down. Opponent has Corsola in the back, and I want to see this Flash Cannon land. Come on, Shadow Flash Cannon into the Corsola. No, the Corsola respects it. Oh, that is absolutely heartbreaking. Still able to make the Magnet Bomb, deal massive damage, but watching a Corsola get one-hit KO'd would have been absolutely glorious. Corsola will fire off the Nightshade, the no shield by Berserker. There's the switch into Drapion. Drapion now going to be hit with the Close Combat. Close Combat will inflict massive damage. It's going to be the CMP tie, and that honestly feels like the Boom special in the series. Trying to get opponents to play to CMP ties, so that way they can't get any residual energy. And the Como-O tanks the Poison Sting on 1 HP, leaves with the Dragon Claw, KOs the Corsola, and that's revenge for last game when the opponent's Diggersby survived with a fraction of health. Speaking of Diggersby, it's on the lead again in the next match. Como-O, very happy to stay in here and play this out, considering the double steel types that are lurking in the back. Opponent will go for the Scorching Sands right away. There is no debuff applied though. Como-O, oh my goodness, the opponent tries to make a catch onto the Shadow Drifblim. In comes the Shadow Magneton, but Shadow Magneton is just getting melted by Astonishes. Was that 6 Astonishes just to get fully KO'd? That's absolutely wild. Berserker calls the bait and gets it right. Oh my goodness, the opponent knew if they were able to successfully bait, then they could potentially make another move. But Boom, able to read them like a book, getting the call right. This is a heavily debuffed Berserker. In the back is a Poliwrath, and now we see a bait from the Como-O. Como-O has so much energy, grabbing a shield, going for the Close Combat, and that's gonna leave a mark. Close Combat into the Shadow Poliwrath, not quite gonna KO. Opponent switches out of that matchup as they send in Diggersby. Diggersby going for the Fire Punch, over farming as much as possible to the back-to-back Close Combats. That's gonna be what's needed here. Close Combat number 1 is gonna connect, and Close Combat number 2 going to KO the Poliwrath. Poliwrath lived the first Close Combat, but that is not the only Pokemon with Close Combat on this team. Amazing lead in the next match, leading Como-O into Ariados. Ariados is fully walled in this matchup, so if they're staying in, something is seriously wrong for the opponent, and they're going to have trouble versus Como-O later on. We're going to see a save switch into Berserker, and this is where having Trailblaze would be super nice, but unfortunately, due to a lack of TMs for the most of these battles, he did not have it, and he's more than happy to let this go. The opponent could have overfarmed more with the Feraligatr, chose not to, and now he can send in Como-O. A Dragon Claw wouldn't quite do it from this health range, and his gameplay is very precise, going for the move that KOs, and he's able to deliver a knockout. Back in comes the Ariados. Ariados is going to go for a lunge that is going to KO the Como-O. In comes Magneton. Magneton going to be met with a debuffing move here of lunge. Lunge no shielded. That does over 50% HP. In comes the Drapion. He's going for the Hail Mary here. Going for the Flash Cannon. It's debuffed, but it's still one-hit KOs. And that is a 2-shield flex with a team of Como-O, Berserker, and Shadow Magneton. Hopping into the next match, Como-O versus Gastrodon. Gastrodon would be an absolute nightmare for this backline to deal with. So the opponent probably going to be able to grab shields from the Como-O because nothing in back can afford to take Mud Slaps. The Dragon Claw is shielded. That's not what you're hoping to see as Boom. Do you try and call a Body Slam bait? The answer is yes, and he gets it right. He calls the bait, and now he's able to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will get the Gastrodon very low. Gastrodon is able to hang on. In comes Berserker, and Berserker is forced to commit the shield as the opponent did make it to 9 total Mud Slaps, which is the energy required to make it to an Earth Power plus a Body Slam. Opponent will go for an Aqua Tail from the Drapion. That's very okay for Berserker. Berserker is going to overfarm again, playing to the CMP tie, as he does so frequently. That's one thing that I do enjoy about watching his gameplay. It's very, very precise. We're going to see a shield from the Berserker. All shields down now. In comes the Magneton, and Magneton, unfortunately, not going to get to the move as the opponent goes for the Aqua Tail. That does a ton of damage. In comes the switch, and they snipe with a Mud Slap. No, and I think that's probably going to be game over unless it's something like double weak to close combat in the back. It's going to be a Galarian Moltres, so that energy would have gone so far with the Magneton, but unfortunately, it got sniped with the Mud Slap, and that's game over. Hopping into the final match, Como-O into Galarian Moltres, and as long as shields are up, this is great matchup to be as Como-O. The opponent has very limited fast pressure since Sucker Punch is resisted, and unless they can land a Brave Bird, they're going to be in a ton of trouble. Close combat grabs an early shield. We're going to see a safe switch into Berserker to bait out Gastrodon, and he's back on Trailblaze here. Do they respect the damage? They do not, and Gastrodon, after being such a nuisance in the last game, gets one hit KO'd as Boom gets his revenge. Galarian Moltres goes for the Ancient Power, but that's not going to cut it. Berserker with the survive. Boosted close combat KOs. In comes Drapion. Drapion does get a healthy energy head start, but that's just going to go nowhere into the Como-O. Como-O, a complete wall to this energy. Opponent going for the Aqua Tail, and now in comes the Shadow Magneton. And the writing's on the wall in this one. Magneton's going to call the Aqua Tail bait as well. Oh my goodness, the disrespect from Boom. He's going for the Flash Cannon BM. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Oh my goodness, what a finale. All in all, these were some incredibly entertaining battles, so many thanks to Boom for sending them in. Now, as I mentioned at the start, it goes without saying, this is not a team that I'd recommend if you're looking to gain elo. Boom was able to go positive with it because Boom is arguably one of the best 10 trainers in the world. You don't accidentally hit rank 1 on the leaderboards, and you don't accidentally win the first Play Pokemon tournament that you enter. So I think there's honestly a lot that can be learned from Boom's gameplay, even though he is running very anti-meta Pokemon. The way that he tries to play in these games is a really good example of how you can use glass cannons. He's very frequently trying to go for these cap ties, understanding that if he can limit the opponent's ability to overfarm and not give them an energy head start, that's the best way to set up these glass cannons for success. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.